So welcome back to Cash Talks Football. In my current series of Football is Dying, Manchester United have decided to embrace the memes of their circus show and actually build themselves a circus tent, a £2 billion circus tent, which they promise isn't going to cost the taxpayers any money except for £2 billion. But that's a whole nother story and we'll save that for another video. What we really want to talk about is the impact that things like this have on the footballing community and the footballing world. So when I say things like generic Stadium A or generic Stadium D, well, that's all old New Trafford is going to be. It's just another generic stadium, whether it's the Etihad or the Emirates or whatever stadium Tottenham Hotspur's playing instead of White Hart Lane, or the Millennium Stadium that West Ham playing. And do you remember when it was really, really hard to go to Goodison Park because the fans could get around their team? Oh, don't worry, that's gone, and they've got themselves generic Stadium B now. And this is massive in football, okay? I mean, people don't realise the actual sort of value and what's happening, because it's a 10-year, 15-year after effect before you see it happen to your football club. And think about all the games that you've had at, say, Goodison or Old Trafford, where you were in the 90s and you had to scrape through in that third round of the FA Cup or whatever it might have been in the Champions League, and you did it with the skin of your teeth, and you were sat in that chair. That chair's not there anymore. And then your granddad gave you your season ticket and he took you to your first game at Old Trafford. Well, that stadium's not there anymore. So all of that energy and all of that history and all of that, everything that's happened just gets eradicated with a little stroke of a pen when they go to build a new stadium. So when you lose all of those things, what you actually lose is your core fan base. And it happens over time. It's not something that disappears and everyone, tomorrow morning they wake up and no one goes to the game. But what happens is it's just not the same feeling anymore. If you listen to some of the Watford fans say they would never support another club because it's a community. They see the same faces going there week in, week out, day in, day out. When you have 100,000 seated generic Stadium A with 100,000 seated generic Stadium B, it's not a community. It's a bunch of plastic fans coming in, supporting just because they're on holiday or they're doing a thing. They're not real Man United fans. Oh, you go, oh yeah, but no, the real Man United fans go to every single home and away game. They're there on the away games. They're there on the home games. They're the ones shouting and bringing the crowd into it. These plastic fans aren't going to start chants and singing and backing their team, and they need a script like in the NFL or in America, where the man comes on the tannoy and says, hey, let's do a sing-songy. Okay, let's do a sing-song. No, that's not what football's about in the UK. And now it slowly is going to become that. Because the next step is, if you're just playing in generic Stadium A, does it matter if generic Stadium A is now in Miami or is it in LA? Or does it matter where generic Stadium A is for Manchester United now? Because who cares, right? All the history's gone. It doesn't matter where you play. It doesn't matter what stadium you play in. So who cares? And forget all the financial impacts of maybe Gary Neville having a hotel and being pro Glazer now and all of that sort of stuff that's going on in the background. I mean, that's huge. The level of, and I wouldn't say sort of corruption, they're not like referees, but just the underhandedness and the misleading of the public for these people is just, it's off the scales. It's always another thing. It's always another line. There's always another way that they're going to line their pockets. And the only people that ever lose out is generally the fans. And you can see it. I know a lot of people that have stopped watching football in the last 5 years for things like VAR. They're done. The cost to watch it, they just can't be bothered. I mean, I'm bringing a video out soon about the average cost per game is £4.19 per game in the UK, and you still miss 180 Premier League games. To watch the exact same games, all of them in India, it's 6p per game. In the United States, it's something like £3, but the difference is you get all of those extra 180 games at the 3 o'clock kickoff that you don't in the UK. And all of these things add up, they mount up, and they get to a breaking point where fans just go, look, I'm not paying for that ticket price. It's not the same stadium. It's not the same atmosphere. Stadiums make it hard for people to play and go away. Man United right now are a shambles of a football club, but it's still Old Trafford. If they get going and the fans get going, you're not going to beat them. But you are now. This hurt that they're in currently, they're adding to it. It's going to take 15, 20 years, maybe more, and that means you have to be winning all the time to keep your fans engaged, to get them going. Like it's the psychology behind it is massive when you actually understand it. And I mean, there's so much psychology in football, and people have just forgotten about it. They've forgotten the reason why people wear red shirts. There's a massive reason behind it. There's so much that goes on in football, and people just think, oh, it's because this. No. There's so much going on. And Man United having a generic stadium, doing their generic stadium A, is going to absolutely destroy their legacy, their history, and they won't be able to move forward. You go, but we get more money, so it doesn't do anything. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't implement it correctly, get the right scouting, have your fans behind you, there's so many other factors you need, not just buying players, because they've been buying players. So it's massive to see that they're making this ridiculous decision. The smart decision, fix Old Trafford. And other than that, I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.